Why, hello there, Niceto here. Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope very much so that you are doing well today. What are we doing? We are looking at this, and this is not my lunch. This is the CJRB Nanner. You can see the inspiration, I'm pretty sure, right away. That's a banana. So, this is a very unusual little knife. It is a budget knife, definitely in the budget territory. It's a strange one. It's a strange bird. But let's just jump. Oh, consider liking and subscribing if you want to help me on my way to 1,000. And please note that there are timestamps down below, as this is a full review, so you can always jump around. We're getting into specs, and, well, that's the point of the timestamps. You can jump through the specs if you don't particularly care to see that. This is a little tricky. A lot of this knife is going to be tricky, but you basically have 3 1/4 to the edge termination, but the handle is slightly in front of that. It's because you can sort of turn it this way and the handle won't be in front of it. So I'm just going to call it 3 1/4 as a blade. So the measurements aren't going to completely work out perfectly here. Like, this is going to be about 4 1/4, and yet it's definitely not going to be 7 1/2 overall. It's just shy of 7 1/2, so it works out pretty decently. Let's do some comparisons, even though this is going to be a hard knife to compare to, even with our resident Civivi Elementum and Conspirator, the small and full-size knives, respectively. Let's get them all centered right here. And say that, as you can see, this is pretty much in between the two. Maybe a little bit closer to the Elementum. It is very thin, very narrow, very small feeling. But it is big enough that I'd say maybe call it a medium-sized knife. Just for presence alone. I mean, it is sort of the angry boomerang, right? In just general kind of shape, but yeah. Let's do a grip length comparison, as that's probably more important and probably easier for me. You actually, in 2 AA batteries, you actually have 2 AA batteries of grip length on this thing. Just about. Like, right pretty much there for actual grip length, and you're pretty much supposed to use this forward choil all the time, though you can actually technically get back here and just hold it up here. I am just starting to slip off, so about 3 1/2 finger grip, or maybe close to a 4 finger grip, maybe 3.75 of a grip, whatever that is, measurements is. But you can actually hold it there. It's pretty easy to hold on to, which, with that big curvature, it's not surprising that it's got something to hold on to there. I always wonder if this stupid camera is picking up. From my end, the camera looks like it's kind of distorting the screen, but it is 2.4 ounces. It is ultralight. You're getting well over 1 ounce an inch, despite the fact that this thing has full steel liners in there. Heavily skeletonized, but they are in there, and a crossbar lock. They've managed to get it down to a really low weight, which is kind of impressive. Hardware check. We have T8 on the pivot, T8 on the body screws, and T6 here on the pocket clip screws. Now, it is a crossbar lock, so it is very ambidextrous, and you can absolutely swap these, and that's the only way you're going to have to interface with a T6. You have to take this one out, and these two. This one is a T8, but these two are T6, and swap them to the other side. Otherwise, you will probably never have to interface with a T6 on this knife. You can get away with just taking these out. I do want to say that, as you may have noticed, there is tooling on both sides of this pivot. And the reason for that is that while it is captured, there is a D-shaped barrel in there. It is just a barrel. The screws come in from either side, and these are actually independent screws that can be taken out. I have taken it apart. It's not particularly hard, but it is captured, so that's a good thing. So don't let that scare you away, right? It's not a rotating free pivot. But you'll be mostly interacting with T8, which is nice. And the final spec, I believe, yes. Don't fall. the calipers for the thickness. We are at 0.44, 440 thousandths. Yep, 440 thousandths ish on the handle, which is well under half an inch, which is of course 500 thousandths. With the clip, you're at 648 thousandths. Blade thickness is basically 100 thousandths, pretty thin. Now, behind the edge is going to be a little tricky. It definitely tapers up. I'm pretty sure it varies decently. Come on now. It's also going to be not at all fun to do this because it doesn't have a whole lot of room there. About 25 thousandths way up the tip. And back here where it is a bit thinner, it should, if it cooperates. Yeah. Okay, yeah. It's about 20 thousandths. So it goes from 1920 to about 25. You can see it has some thickness and some strength up at the tip. I believe that brings us to the end of our specs, so let's move on and just actually talk about this thing. I guess a good segue between that would be talking about the fact that it is AR-RPM 9 blade steel, which is basically 9CR and G10 with, I believe it's, when I looked it up, it said aluminum. It doesn't feel like aluminum, but it's the coating that's on this thing. It really kind of gives it a almost plasticky feel, but it feels the same on all of the things that are coated with this green on this knife. I believe they said this was aluminum as a backspacer. So, aluminum G10 and AR-RPM 9 for very much so in the budget territory, around $46, which is pretty good, honestly, especially when you get into the wacky shapes, right? I don't know why. Maybe that complexity doesn't add cost to producing, but I would feel like maybe it kind of would a little bit in the production area. It's still very much a budget knife. It's still very well in that budget territory, and honestly, that alone and this crazy shape, if you just like odd and unique things, I'll just say it right now, that alone kind of makes this thing worth checking out or worth getting just to have like in your collection, just because it's fun. It's cool. It does come in some other colors. I don't know why you would get those other colors. It's called the Nanner. Just embrace the banana and let it be what it's supposed to be. There is like a fully blacked out version and a green one, I think. A darker green. But just embrace the banana. Just go with it. That's what this thing is supposed to be. And, I mean, look at it. Right? It's a fun, unique thing. And for me, that is enough to check this out. That was more than enough reason for me to check it out. I like the look of this. But, as we will soon get to, there are a number of reasons to not make this, like, your daily driver or anything like that. It's actually... I love this knife. It's not a great knife. It's really kind of not. So let's get there by talking first about this super upswept trailing point tip, which makes it very less than convenient for a lot of cutting tasks. This blade shape is just not super convenient. It definitely slips out of things. The tip is up high, so I mean you can get to it actually on this thing, but it is up high. It is a bit thick there, and I've tried to cut a couple things successfully, and then like I tried to cut a plastic tie that I had to like push in through here, and it just kept slipping out. Right? I mean, plastic tie isn't ideal for cutting with a thin, small pocket knife in the first place. Not really, not what you should be doing, but let's face it, we all do it. Yeah, it does slip out of the cut. It slipped out of the cut on a cardboard box, right? Right. The blade shape is for drawing and slicing. Not the most convenient for just daily EDC things that you're probably going to interface with, at least not universally. We also have to talk about the fact that on mine, the edge is not, like, it's definitely ground off a bit. One side's definitely higher. In fact, you can see it more pronounced when I show you this. The blade is mostly center, but as you can see, the tip of the blade, one side is much actually down at the edge bevel. One side is much deeper, where this one is much more of a shallow angle. So it looks more off-center than it actually is. It's pretty close to being centered, I believe, the blade itself. However, the tip makes it look very much off. So, kind of a screwy up on that. Also, something that's very screwed up is the plunge grind on this knife, which is kind of comes down into two stages, which is very bizarre. First of all, if I'm shaking it through moving it at different angles through the light, you can kind of probably see this line right here. Stop, finger. That was a weird angle. I'm like, you can kind of see, catch it. There it is, right there. That is part of the plunge that, yes, comes down to about there. It's a very minor part of the plunge. It is a very, very low angle part of the plunge, but the plunge sort of goes in two sections. It drops to the edge, like here, and then continues dropping just a tiny bit more all the way out to here, at that one strange angle that you can kind of see it. There it is again. Yeah, it's down to here. So, the plunge grind is horrifying. In fact, I have not sharpened this knife, but as you can see, they've already started to, just from the factory with the weird grind that's on it. This one sort of terminates in this almost disappearing edge, but both sides are rounded at the back end here, and yeah, it's going to be hard to not get a smile with this knife. You're going to probably want to cut in, like, just expand that all the way to almost there, honestly. I mean, like I said, the angle, it's, again, hard to tell, but it kind of ends, like, here. So there's a good portion of this blade that is straight up just at a different angle due to this. It's starting to get thick already back here. Not exactly great. They really could have done that better, but yeah. The plunge is crazy. You're definitely going to have to probably expand that out to, like, almost there. You'll have a ton of room to grip into, but yeah, not wonderful in that case. I may actually do that just to sort of demonstrate where you have to get to do away with this, what will inevitably be a massive smile and very overt change in angle already on the blade edge. But, yeah. Jimping on the spine, it does not, in fact, go all the way over and around, which is not ideal. However, I really wasn't sure how this was going to work just due to the angles of the handle, and it works great. The thumb studs are super easy to actuate, and while I would say this is a side of your finger front flipper and not a front flipper kind of thing, you can do it, but you can, if you go from the front, you can definitely start to slip over, though you can do it. It works. It's just kind of easier if you go from the side a little bit, and if you do go from the side, it's actually surprisingly good. The angles work out way better than I was expecting. So, that's a good thing. Jimping not going all the way over is not, but yeah, it's not the biggest deal on this one. The jimping here on the actual spine does provide traction. Not a ton, but some, and it's a nice counterpoint to where you hold up on this knife. It really sort of lets you feel like you're locking in and pulling back on this area, which keeps you further away from the edge, even though I don't think it's really a problem. It keeps you in a nice position, and it does actually do something, which is what jimping's supposed to do, right? The crossbar lock also, while it's not like super heavy, it does actually have a very good almost snap to it. It's not mushy, and it's got a good fall, and it's decently strong spring, strong enough, right? It feels good, is what I'm saying. It's a good crossbar lock. They've actually executed that quite well. There is no different spots to put the Omega spring, so you don't have to worry about sort of trying to strength adjust or anything like that, but yeah. The stop pin is attached to the blade. It's actually way up in there. It's this right there. You can see the little bit of light glinting off of it. That is the stop pin, and you can still see it there. Running around in this track in here and butting up against the steel liners. So, yeah, you have full access back here, which again, you may have to cut in some just some choice for, but you can certainly do it. I have no play, no up and down, but I did show already that it does kind of have a bit of an off-center and that the grinds are a bit strange. So, yeah, in conjunction with the plunge grind, The branding on this one isn't too bad. This is the designer's logo. I can't remember off the top of my head who the designer is. He's done a couple things for CJRB now, and I really want to check the other ones out because I like the aesthetic. I like the language here. The strange, interesting stuff. I like it. I don't know if I love the logo, the duck holding a something, but it's off to the side. It's not on the bevel, and it's kept in sort of a minimalist area there, which is more than adequate for a budget knife. CJRB over there. Now, moving on to the handles themselves, this is where we get another little bit of an issue in the fact that the G10 here doesn't feel... It feels like it's been processed all right, but there are some very... Like, they put a chamfer here, right? This big chamfer. And there's a chamfer here, but it still has a very severe... not sharp, but... like... yeah. You can see it got caught the back of my nail a little bit. It's got some very severe edges for absolutely no reason. While, because of its weird shape, none of it actually comes into play as, like, uncomfortable. I mean, you're not really even deep into this area that much. But it is a little bit harder on the edges, on the angles. They put these big chamfers in, and then left the angles to essentially be pretty prominent, despite the chamfer. So, strange choice. Again, this is like a $45 knife, so you're not expecting a perfection, but I don't know. I would like to see it just rounded off a little bit more, or softened maybe a little bit. Just hit with something to soften that down a little bit. Whatever. Now, the yellow of the G10 is very vibrant and very banana-like, but I will say that it does get a bit dirty. You can kind of see how it's gotten a bit... I don't know if that's going to come across, but it gets dirty. Honestly, strangely enough, I have, like, white G10 knives that... kind of haven't gotten even as dirty as fast as this, which is kind of strange. But, well, whatever. What you pay for the price of the aesthetic, right? Big full backspacer with a lanyard tube, if you care. The lanyard hole is very small. And this clip is, like, the big winner here, in my opinion. Like, this is the best thing on the knife as far as just put on more things. Continuous rise, super short, nice flex, nice retention, works great, nicely softened and rounded all the way around, flat screws. It's not an inset, but who cares on this one. And it's tall enough while being placed in a position that is, believe it or not, almost making it disappear in my hand. This is a clip that they need to use more often. This is a great one. Just stick that on just about anything, and that in the right position can probably be made to work. I wouldn't mind seeing T8s, but yeah, that's a good clip. And it just, like, further proves that you don't need these giant long clips that take up half the handle. I mean, this is more than enough. This thing locks in just fine. Just make sure it has enough tension on, and you should be good to go. I really like the clip, basically. But this knife is basically, yeah, it's I love it, but again, it's it's not a very good knife. I love the knife, but it's not a great knife. It's kind of... It wasn't very sharp. It doesn't feel like there's any major, like, burrs on it. I did strop the knife. It still didn't... It got sharper, but it still didn't come out to be super sharp. It's not very sharp. The geometry is not great. The plunge grind's terrifying. They could have wrapped around on the jimping there, and the fit and finish on just the whole thing with the edges of this G10 and everything just are underwhelming. And yet I love it. Because it's interesting. And it's interesting at a budget level. So for that reason alone, I was more than happy to check it out. I love this little thing. I'm going to be messing around with it. Like I said before the summary, before I do that, I might show you what a expanded choil needs to look like. It's going to be pretty big, but as far as is it a functional good knife? Not super much, no. And it is also not a practical shape knife for most people. So, yeah, if you're interested in getting it for the sake of having something interesting and different in your collection, or in your just, not even necessarily collection, just something very different in among maybe a couple knives that you have, this is definitely a good candidate. You're not going to be breaking the bank. So I will link it down below, but I also will not be putting it in my like recommended budget tier because it's not a recommendable knife on the knife end of things, which is kind of weird, but yeah. CJRB Nanner, strange one, but I am here for the strange stuff, and I like it, so whatever. That's it for me. I will say thank you for watching, and see you later. There will probably be some videos popping up for you to click on if you want to see something else on the channel, which this is probably not my standard for the channel. So you may want to check on something in case you don't think this is the kind of weird nonsense that I'm going to be doing all the time. It's not, but yeah. That's it. See you later. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.